Today is January 26, 2024, and welcome to the 425th episode of the Video Games podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I'm the one-man host of the show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello! Thank you specifically for joining me today. I'm glad you're back. I'm also glad I'm here. Hey, as per usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I talk about tidbits, news items, industry happenings, basically anything randomly game adjacent that has caught my eye in the last 7 days. Wasting no time, getting right to it. Not a whole lot going on this week. I think one thing I'm going to mention is a while ago, in 2015, and this is only very, very, very loosely tangentially game related, so bear with me for a minute. A guy named Daniel Benedict put out a fan movie based on Masters of the Universe, better known as He-Man. And if you listen to this podcast, you know I'm a huge He-Man fan. So he put out a fan film, new script and his own writing, using some characters from He-Man. I believe it's on YouTube right now. You can go check it out. It's not too long. And it's actually pretty damn good. I will say, the special effects are a little bit... Well, I mean, they're not bad. They're actually better than I thought they would be, even though they're not great, if that makes any sense. But like when you look at the whole thing, if you're a fan, I bet you'll also appreciate it. I thought it was really well done. And then I'm not sure what happened after that. He kind of disappeared. But last year, he popped back up out of nowhere. And he was like, oh, snap, I want to make part 2 to this story. And he tried to kickstart it for a bunch of money. Did not make it. And that was actually pretty disappointing to me, because with such a great effort, I really think this guy could make something fun if he had a couple more bucks. And he's got like more characters, a larger cast, larger script. I mean, the whole thing just seems like bigger, better, more, right? So the Kickstarter failed, and I was really bummed about that because I did chip in on it. But he came back. He is back. He is going to be kickstarting again his second movie, The Fall of Grayskull, Rise of the Horde, a short fan film sequel to his previous film from 2015. The Kickstarter is not open yet, but it's coming up soon. So if you like fan films, if you like He-Man, Masters of the Universe, if you want to just get something like this off the ground, just a heads up that it exists, and it will soon be open for pledges. I will be there on day one pledging. Cannot support the entire film. If I was a millionaire, I would, but I can't. But I'll chip in my bucks, and maybe you want to chip in yours too. So good luck to Daniel Benedict. Wishing you nothing but the best, my friend. Following that, not a lot to talk about right now, other than Xbox had a recent showcase of new games. I don't know what it was called. The Xbox Expose, the Xbox Insider. I don't know what it was called. Something along those lines. I didn't watch it because I just didn't have time, and I kind of didn't want to. But I heard some people talking about it, so I went and checked out the trailers that were, made available during that show. Didn't seem like there was a lot of new stuff, and a lot of the stuff we had seen before, unless I'm missing something. But basically they showed Ninja Gaiden 4 and also the Ninja Gaiden 2 Black remake. Now, these are not Ninja Gaiden from back in the NES days. These are from the Xbox days. The first Xbox, and then Xbox 360, I think. I didn't bother looking it up because, honestly, I fucking hate these games. They're by Team Ninja. And I will say that I do love Neo by Team Ninja. I'm also a big fan of Wolong, which is also from Team Ninja. But those are the exception to the rule. In general, I am not a fan of Team Ninja. I don't like their approach to action games. I hate Ninja Gaiden, all of the Ninja Gaidens that they've done. Don't care for a single one of them. I think it brings out the worst in Get Good, Try Hard. I just don't like the combat. I've never liked the camera. Don't like the aesthetics. I think they've been actually really insulting to players in the past. Most notable example being if you put it to an easier level of difficulty, and these games are notoriously difficult, they would call you a dog, and they would make fun of you with jokes and stuff like that. So not a big fan of shit like that, and it's kind of what turned me against Team Ninja in the first place. It was really a surprise to me when Neo came out, and I actually really liked it, and it felt like the difficulty was approachable, and it had better design sensibility. I don't know if there's two separate teams within Team Ninja. Maybe one does the Neo stuff and one does the regular Ninja type Ninja Gaiden stuff. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm not excited for these. I mean, they look fine, I guess. Kind of Devil May Cry-ish sort of thing if you've never played the Ninja Gaiden games. But they have just always really gotten on my bad side. And I think there's just kind of a kind of a shitty energy to them, I think. I know some people disagree. A lot of people like these, and that's fine. I'm not trying to shit on something that you love, but for me, these have just never clicked. So I'm not excited about either one of these. South of Midnight, we've seen this one several times before, still looks good. Claire Obscure Expedition 33, we've seen this one many times, still looks good. And I think, as far as I know, the last game to be shown was Doom: The Dark Ages, and I don't give a shit about Doom. So if you're excited for Doom, go for it. I watched the trailer. It doesn't look particularly Dark Ages. I mean, he's still got a gun. I think he had a shield, I believe, the Doomslayer guy. I mean, it looks basically just like Doom. And if you like Doom, you probably will like it. If you don't like Doom like me, don't care for it, then you probably won't. And as far as I can tell, again, this is what they had. So not a really super impressive showcase to me. I mean, I am interested in South of Midnight and Claire Obscure, but we've seen those like a dozen times already, so it's not like it was new information. So I guess that's what they wanted to show that day. If I missed something or if anybody has a different opinion, would love to hear that. Feel free to shoot me a message. Just about to dive into the main portion of the show here, but before I do that, just a quick bit of compliance with FCC regulations. I need to mention that almost all the games that I'm going to be mentioning on the show today were provided to me free of charge by the developer/publisher for coverage purposes. So just know that. All right, folks, as y'all know, I like to start the main portion of the show with circlebacks, where I circle back to things I have covered in depth on previous episodes. I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty. Just think of this as a quick update to things I've talked about before, and I will give you my further thoughts on something for better or for worse. First up, still chipping away at Blasphemous 2. Still awesome. It's long. I mean, it's not real long, but it's pretty long for Metroidvania. I want to say that I'm getting pretty close to 20 hours, if not more. A lot of that, to be fair, has been me kind of like combing the map, looking for items and upgrades and stuff like that. So you could definitely speed run it a lot quicker if you knew where you were going and if you knew exactly what you needed. So you could probably trim quite a bit of fat off that playtime. But I've just been going at an easy pace, doing like maybe one chunk of levels a day. But I'm in the home stretch now. I believe the path to the last boss is now open. And all that's left for me is a little bit of map cleanup, a few items here or there that were pissing me off, and I need to go back and get those. And I believe the DLC areas are now open from the Mea Culpa DLC, which just recently came out a couple months ago. That's the reason why I came back to this game in the first place. I saw the new DLC. So basically, I'm within spitting distance of rolling credits, which I think is great. I've had a really great time with it. I am almost inspired to do a written review. It takes a lot for me to do that, but I think this game is actually really well worth it. And I'm glad that I came back to it after kind of putting it down the first time. Basically, I had finished Blasphemous 1, loved it, thought it was amazing. And Blasphemous 2 came out. And when it came out, I just wasn't quite ready for it. I felt like it was too soon for me. And I got into it. I'm like, oh, this feels like too much like what I just finished. And I don't want more of this right now. So I kind of put it aside, which was the right thing to do because I just wasn't in the mood and I don't want to force myself. But I am glad I let it percolate for a while, and I came back, felt fresh again, felt exciting. And I really do think this is a really, really high quality game, like excellent craftsmanship, tight design with the mechanics, tight controls, expansive map. All the bosses are they're tough but fair. And the artwork is just fucking phenomenal. Like, oh my God, like every sprite is just like a little masterpiece. The gross, like body horror Catholicism of the Spanish tradition is just killing it. Like I'm just, as an art nerd, I'm just over the moon with the art style and the vibes here. So amazing. Like, for example, one new enemy I just found today was kind of like a, gosh, I don't even know what you even call it, but basically like an Iron Maiden, like the old medieval torture device where it kind of looks like a metal cylinder or cabinet. And then you stick somebody inside of it. And when you close the doors, it's got like spikes on the inside. So you like spike them when you close the doors. So it kind of looked like that. But it had like this little, like a sun for a head. A metal sun, looked like it was out of brass. It was spinning around these little maces. And just the animation of the spinning was pretty amazing. But the really fucking cool thing was when you hit it a couple times and you broke through the metal cylinder casing, it revealed a guy who was being like punished on the inside. And he was like pale and gone to kind of bloody and sunken. And he was the guy that was kind of making it spin, kind of like this fanatical religious motion, this fervor he was in. Fucking amazing. It looks so, like the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, I got to just look at this for a second and hopefully not get hit. But man, it was fucking dope. So Blasphemous 2 is the shit. Definitely a huge thumbs up. I may do a written review. Definitely going to roll credits on this one. And I probably will try to go back and go for 100%, which is something I almost never, ever, 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 ever do. But I feel like I'm just really enjoying my time. It's digestible in chunks, and I think the quality just demands it. I really do want to see every corner of this map, and just to see all the weird freaks and zombies and crazy shit that's in his game. Just really fascinating stuff. So Blasphemous 2, circling back, I think I'm in the home stretch on this one. The other circle back is to Slitterhead, which I talked about last episode, and God, that feels like a million years ago. Go back and listen to that episode if you want. This is the game where I played the demo on PS5, was really taken with the demo. It was rough, but it seemed creepy and experimental in a way that really spoke to me, and I went and actually paid full fucking price for that. 50 whole bucks, which is like really rare for me. I mean, I don't know. Is 50 bucks a lot to some people? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. For me, it's not nothing, and I don't drop 50 bucks like nothing. So it must have said a lot to me that I really wanted to play this game. And for the first couple of hours, I really thought it was worth it. I was really into it. It was creepy. It was weird, unsettling. Basically, it's about some parasites that are taking over a fake Asian city. And so you are a disembodied spirit who can body swap. And so you use that body swapping during combat and to track down these parasites. Fucking weird. There's time travel in it. There's like strange bits and bobs and story and body horror and weird necks and bugs in people's guts. And the whole thing is just fucking strange. And I was really feeling it. I was really into it. But I got to, well, I don't want to say it's the home stretch, 'cause I felt like I kept getting to the end of the game and then there kept being more. And it was kind of like in an unpleasant way. It wasn't like, oh, yay, I get to do more levels. It was like, damn it, isn't this thing over yet? I just got to a part where the developers had completely run out of ideas and all of the goodwill they had built up. And they had built up a pretty substantial amount of goodwill with me. I was very willing to forgive the rough edges and poor graphics and weird clipping and all that stuff, because a lot of it was just so fucking cool and interesting and was really connecting with me on a conceptual level. But they just didn't know when to quit. We kept doing a lot of battles that didn't really lead to anything. It just felt like filler content. I was doing a lot of the same activities I was doing earlier, like finding lost items, doing chase scenes through the city. I had done all of this stuff before, and it was cool the first and even second time, maybe even third time. But like, they just kept going back to the well without anything else to add to it. And so I eventually got to the point where I'm like, I'm done with this. Like, I just feel like they are straight up wasting my time at this point. So I didn't finish it. I really thought I was going to finish that one. I really thought I wanted to, but it just absolutely ran out of gas, which is a terrible shame. If they had ended that game 2 hours earlier or whatever, 2 hours before the part where I quit anyway, I would have been like, okay, this is like a super broken, janky ass weird game. But if you're a freak like me, like, you're going to love this game. I think there's a lot of cool things in it. The ideas are cool. The mechanics are cool. Just a lot of just really, really cool vibes about it, but they just kept going and didn't stop, and it made me stop. And so now I'm out, which makes me really sad, because I can just see all the good in it. Like, it almost got there. It was so close to being something that was really cool and really experimental and worth talking about. But man, they just should have fucking quit while they're ahead, man. So that is a real fucking bummer. So anyway, I deleted that. I will not be coming back to it. There's just too many other games I want to get to for something to waste my time like that, which is a shame. But goodbye, Slitterhead. It was really lovely while it was lovely, and it's not lovely anymore. There you go. All right, folks, moving on to the main portion of the show here. This may be a short show because I'm kind of rocketing through these topics, and we'll see how much I have to say about these upcoming 3 games here. First one is Lonely Mountains Snow Riders. This one dropped on Game Pass a little while ago, and this is the sequel / expansion / I don't know, semi-shared IP from Lonely Mountains Downhill. That was a kind of an indie sensation when it came out a couple years ago, where you look at a mountainside, kind of low poly approach, and you're on a guy on a little BMX bike, and you're riding down the hill, and then but it's like a fixed perspective, right? Like, you're not behind the back. You're kind of looking from a distance away. Like, you're almost like you're controlling like a little model or something, or like a little RC biker guy. And that was pretty fun at the time. I found it to be pretty difficult, but I did like it. I played it for, maybe like a week or so, and I thought it was kind of a good time. This takes that same concept of having a fixed perspective camera where you cannot move the camera, and you are controlling a skier this time as they go down a snowy hill. No more bike, it's replaced with skis, but basically the same thing. There's also a multiplayer aspect. You can play with your friends, you can race against other people. It's on Game Pass for free, and I'm like, okay, I had a pretty decent time with that first game. I didn't finish it or anything, but I thought, for the time that I was playing it, I was having a good enough sessions. So I downloaded this for free again on Game Pass, and oh man, I bounced off it so quick. I think my patience for the fixed perspective is really what wore out first. It was really tough for me, and maybe other people don't have this problem because I'm checking it out online, and this game's getting really good reviews. So maybe it's just a me thing, but I really felt like I was like stumbling. I was having a hard time telling depth. I was getting my little skier was getting stuck on like logs and trees as they go down the hill, and I couldn't really see like, is this a place I'm supposed to jump or is this a place I'm supposed to avoid? How far am I from this tree? Can I make it on this trail? Can I get off this jump? I just was having difficulty with the mechanics of it. And to be fair, I had similar difficulties with Lonely Mountains Downhill as well. But for whatever reason, I was just feeling it a lot more intensely this time. Maybe my patience was less, or maybe I don't know, maybe I just wasn't having it that day. But I really wanted to be able to move the camera, to zoom, and to be able to pivot a little bit, twist and turn a little bit, and I just couldn't. And I got sick of just hitting stuff that I felt like if this was a regular behind the back third person perspective, there's no way I would have hit. I would have been like skiing and having fun. And so I just bounced on it. Again, not much of a loss since it was Game Pass. I didn't spend any money and I only played it for like, I don't know, half an hour or something like that. But the mechanical aspects just did not work for me. But maybe that's just me. Again, maybe it's me because if you go to Metacritic, this thing's getting really good scores basically across the board last time I checked. So it could just be a me thing. I do get particular that way sometimes. That is Lonely Mountains Snow Riders. I mean, check it out if you want a neat little skiing game. We don't get a lot of those these days, but definitely was not for me. All right, next up is a game called Synduality Echoes of Ada, A-D-A. This is okay. I guess it's like a multimedia franchise, I guess. There is an anime that came out in 2023 called Synduality Noir, and that's Synduality. Synduality Noir. That came out first in 2023. Synduality Echo of Ada has just come out recently, like this week or last week. So 2025, year and a half or 2 years apart. So clearly the game is based on the anime. I've not seen the anime, and I don't know exactly how similar it is to what I'm playing here, but I am about to talk about the game, and I'm just approaching it as someone who doesn't know any of the context, doesn't have the backstory. I'm not a fan of the anime. I just want to put that out there just so you know where I'm coming from. This is a third person, like, what do they call them? Like resource escape game or something like that, or scavenge game. I don't even know what the genre is even called, but basically you go out on these missions. You are a person living in a future where Earth has been devastated by something, aliens or global warming or Donald Trump or whatever. And all of humanity lives in these underground cities. And so you become a drifter, which is a person who operates a mech suit, and they go up these huge elevators from the bottom of the city. They go up to the surface, and the surface is like wild mountains and forest and ruins and monsters, and nature's kind of like reclaiming it there. And so you go up from the underground city in these elevators, you get up on top in your mech suit, and then you look around for resources. There are crystals you can mine. There are little bits and bobs you can pick up, like work gloves is something I found a lot of. Work gloves and bits of metal and whatever. You'll shoot the monsters while you're out there. There's like a dog type monster, a weird tentacle monster that flies. There's this other monster that I think explodes. And then also the thing about this game is it's not only just like a PvE, but it's also PvPvE, which means it's kind of online. And so while you're doing this, you may encounter other people playing, and then they may either work with you or they may not want to work with you, and they will just try to steal your shit. So first things first. I think this is a great idea. I like the idea of going out and doing runs on things and searching for resources, kind of coming back. I mean, I think that's basically a cool idea. I'm a big fan of mech suits, and I think that works for me as well. These mech suits in particular, I do not care for. They look very blocky and uncool, and they don't handle very well. They're called cradle coffins in this particular IP, which is kind of a weird name. But you get in your cradle coffin mech. It's just like a big block with arms and legs on it. Not very cool. It looks pretty lame, honestly. Um, in the back of your cradle coffin, you have an artificial person, android or whatever. They jump in the back and they lock themselves in the back of your mech, and then they have like a, I don't know, hologram form that like flies around you. So like inside the mech is you're the pilot. Your android is in the back of the mech, locked away safely. Their body is anyway. And then their spirit or their hologram is like flying around you, scanning the area for resources and for enemies and stuff like that. But you're kind of just toddling around on these little legs and your little arms with your big blocky body. And it doesn't look cool. And I think there's also an issue with the third person gameplay because your body is so big and blocky. I feel like it takes up too much of the screen. It's kind of hard to kind of get a good sense of what's going on. And it doesn't feel very good to play either. Like you're just kind of walking. You're pretty slow and chunky. You've got a little dash maneuver you can do, which is fine. You can dodge a little bit, but in general, you're kind of just trundling along. You cannot jump very far. You cannot fly at all, and so you feel tied to the ground. And you're just kind of chonky. You're just kind of stepping around and doing stuff. It doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great to just walk around like that. I would want like boosters, or a brief flight ability, or to be more nimble, or even just to pick different types of mechs. Like, as far as I can tell, every mech in the game is basically just like an iteration of the big block with a couple of skinny arms and legs off it. There's no nimble flying ones. There's no heavy tanks. There's no real variety. I mean, some of the bodies and stuff look different, but essentially they're all kind of functioning the same, but they just have different values for life and defense and stuff like that. So the cool factor is not where I would like it to be. I will say that having the ability to have a artificial person come with you is pretty cool. You can design them. You can make them look like an anime girl or guy. You can change their outfits and stuff, and that's all fine. That was kind of a high point. But it just doesn't feel cool to play. Like you're just staggering through the woods, picking up crap, and then coming back to your elevator. It's not fantastic. When you get back to your base, you cash in all your stuff, and then you're in this like really ruined garage cave thing, and they want you to like immediately like build it up. So you get on the grind pretty quickly. They're like, oh, you got to get all these resources to build up your base, and you got to do these other missions that you're going on. You got to kill like 5 of this monster, or bring back 3 of this thing or something like that. And the money comes in pretty slow. There's not a lot of option for customization yet. I mean, I'm still kind of in the very beginning of it, but right away, like, you're looking at like some of the better guns and stuff, and it's like way more money than I have. And so you're going to have to just like walk around for a while and collect scraps and come back to your base. It just feels like you're getting on the grind really quickly. And that can be okay if the story is super interesting and the story here is not super interesting. Or if you really like your character, or if it feels awesome to play. Like, for example, Warframe is one of the fucking grindiest games in existence, right? But I love Warframe because, number one, the story is cool, and number two, you look fucking badass. Like, you feel like a super awesome space ninja, flying and gliding and hitting things with your sword and shooting with your giant fucking guns, and you're kind of like this bioorganic thing, and you're just like flitting around the battlefield. Looks amazing. It's fucking fun as shit to play. Like, just the kineticism of it is off the charts, and so that really hooks you in. Not so here. It feels very slow and deliberate, and the guns feel weak, and it, just is not really clicking on that level. I will also say there's like a season pass that you can buy right off the bat. So if they want you to just, they clearly want this to be like a live service game, right? Like, build up your little base, grind every day. You get daily quests and daily rewards because they want you to check in. There's a season pass to unlock different guns and different AI buddies and different outfits and stuff like that. There's also a shop where you can buy stuff. I'm not like items in the game. It's like you're going to the game's online store to buy new outfits and stuff like that. Definitely it feels almost like a mobile game in that sense, where there's like all this like advertising and monetization going on, which doesn't feel super great. So, I mean, I guess if you like the anime, maybe this is for you. Maybe if you like the concept, maybe this is for you. But I will say the thing that really cooled me off more than anything else, although I have not been that fired up to begin with, is that on my very first mission, I had a couple of bonuses that I had gotten with the review copy of this game. A slightly better mech torso and slightly better arms or whatever. So I had like not just the stock robot. I had a slightly better one. I went out on my very fucking first mission, and when I went on my first mission, there was somebody else who had been playing the game longer than me, and they wrecked my shit. Like I had literally no chance of fighting back because I was in basically just like the square one, level one mech, like nothing fancy at all, the basic guns and all that. And this dude saw me from a ways away. He made his way over, and I did the little hello emote, like, hey, let's be buddies. We're both online players playing this game. And that dude was like, nope. And he just like blew me the fuck up, took all my shit, and took all my mech parts too. So I got bumped back down to the very basic, just stock mech. And that did not feel good. I was still learning the game. It was literally my first mission out in the world. And then to have somebody come down and just wreck me like that was like, wow, this does not feel like it's starting well. And I have no idea how the developers are going to handle that. Like, is it just free for all? Are you going to be grouped up by experience level? Are you going to be grouped up by mech value? It does not feel good to me to have all your shit taken. And like your mech parts and everything, dude. So like, I mean, maybe it would be one thing if you could build up your mech slowly, but then you died, or if you got robbed or something, you got mugged and you went back to base, but then you still had your mech. Like that would at least be something. You could feel like you'd have this slow progression of getting better and better. But to go back to like the stock level one mech after losing that stuff felt terrible. And, you know, clearly that's there to make it feel like more engaging because the tension level's higher. You've got a risk of losing stuff. And so that, you know, they want you to feel riveted. But to me, it just felt like, fuck that. Like, no way. Like, I'm not going to spend time grinding in this fucking game and get some better weapons or guns or whatever. And somebody who has no life and grinding this game for hours a day is going to be just like way better than I am. And they're going to just like rock me when they see me. Like, I'm not going to be able to compete. I'm not going to get on the hamster wheel. So I feel like I'm out already. Like, I just don't even want to get into this because there's just, I mean, number one, it's not very cool, but also number two, I'm not going to compete with other people who are clearly going to be better than me just by the sake of time invested, right? Like I got a job, I got a wife, I got a kid. I'm not going to be sitting grinding for like 15 hours a day. And so I don't feel like I have a chance against people who have been. So I don't think this is going to work for me. I'm out. But, you know, check it out if you like the anime. If anything I've said about this like resource recovery, escape shooter, or whatever the fuck they're called, if you like what that sounds, I mean, check it out. But for me, none of my boxes are being checked off on this one, and I just don't feel the juice here. So I think my time with Synduality Echo of Ada is going to be pretty short-lived indeed. So I think I'm definitely out. All right, last game of the show is called While We Wait Here. This is from the same people who did Ravenous Devils, which I fucking loved when it came out a year or two ago. That game was a 2D cooking store time management sim where you play the murderers on Fleet Street, made famous by Sweeney Todd. And you kill people and make them into pies and sell the pies. And so you have to manage your store with human pies, managing employees, managing baking times, managing supplies. And then at the same time, there's also kind of a larger serial killer story happening in London and town. Wonderful, wonderful game. Not for everybody, but I thought it was fantastic. And I was very curious to see what those developers were going to do next. And what they did next was While We Wait Here, a total like left turn change. Some vaguely similar themes, I guess, but basically it's about as different from their previous game as you can get. While We Wait Here is a third-person kind of retro graphics-y inspired story, and I want to say, you know, I don't know that maybe some people would disagree with me, but I feel like this is a third-person 3D visual novel. I think that's really the best way to describe it. I know that we traditionally tend to think of visual novels as 2D, hand-drawn, many of them anime style, a lot of text, a lot of reading, sometimes some choices. But I think this definitely qualifies. I think there is a definite story being told. And I think just because it's in the third person with 3D graphics doesn't really make that much of a difference. And how the story is told, I think, is very analogous to what you would expect from a visual novel, in the sense that there is a lot of story unraveling before you. You do make a couple choices, but for the large part, you don't have a lot of say in what's happening, which is just fine with this genre. I wish I could say exactly what it's about, but I can't, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. What this game reminds me more than anything else is like David Lynch, which I think is kind of ironic since he just recently passed away. But I think most people are probably at least aware of David Lynch and his work. The very like dreamlike, abstract, heavy on the vibes and imagery and tone, very little on the explanation and logic. Very Twin Peaksy, very Blue Velvety kind of thing. And that's really, I think, the vein that While We Wait Here is in, which is fine. If you like that kind of vibe, I think you will find a lot to like here. If you don't like David Lynch, then this is maybe not for you. But I am 50-50 on Lynch, but the stuff that I do love, I really love. And so I think it's probably safe to call me a fan. And I ended up really liking While We Wait Here as well, even though it's not perfect. But let's get into it. So basically you play a series of characters that are at a diner. It's a small diner at a roadside in the middle of nowhere. At first, it seems like you're going to be the guy who's working at the diner because that's how you start. But then soon the perspective shifts. Now, this is a short game. It's about maybe 90 minutes or maybe 2 hours long, depending on how you go. And I don't want to spoil it because, I mean, that's a very short experience. And finding things out for yourself would be kind of like the majority of the fun and the majority of what you do here. So I'm going to be pretty circumspect when talking about this. But basically, you're at this diner. You start off as the guy. Things switch. And very quickly, you realize that maybe it's not what you thought it was going to be because things start happening which are inexplicable. And they are very strange and unusual. And there's no real hardcore logic to it at first. I mean, there is definitely like a sequence of events that happens. They're perhaps not told in the right order, or at least like not in the order that you think they would be. And as the game goes on, you spend time in the diner between instances of things happening. And I apologize for being so vague. Between things happening, you actually run the diner. So you'll take people's orders and then you will go to the kitchen. You'll go to the food storage area. You will prepare the food, and then you will serve the food, collect the money, clean up the dishes. Stuff that you would do in a normal diner. It's all very simplified and very, like, easy minigamey. Like, there's no challenge. And again, not a negative. There's no challenge to, like, doing this. You're not going to burn the food if you let it sit too long. You can let it sit forever. It'll still be fine. You can take as much time as you want. The people never get mad and leave. They don't reduce your tip. There's very little gamification of the cooking happening here. It's something for you to do in between the story sections, which I think is a smart move because if you were just watching the story unfold, you might as well make like a short film. And I think this takes advantage of the medium of video games by letting players be involved in a lesser or greater degree. So you're at the diner, you're doing some stuff, weird stuff happens. In between the weird stuff happening, you cook food, serve the food, come back, do the kitchen work, and then more strange things happen. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that people will come and go at the diner throughout the day. And you will get a glimpse into each one of their lives. You will see what happened to them before they got there. You will see what happens to them, what's going on in their heads while they're at the diner. And then you will kind of like manage those things. You get a little glimpse into everybody's life, which I think is great. Seeing different perspectives, seeing different events, seeing how things connect up to each other, which is great. I think the tone overall, I think is really cool. There's lots of weird stuff happening. There's lots of unsettling stuff. Some things are very surprising. There's a couple scenes that I found personally kind of horrifying. And then, but it's not necessarily a horror game. I think it's just really psychological. And when you see how the pieces come together, I think that is very interesting and makes a lot of sense. I think the graphics are nice. I think the voice work is hit or miss. A couple of the voices I thought were great. A couple of the voices sounded very wooden and very unnatural. I don't know if it was perhaps a foreign speaker trying to read English or maybe a person who's just a bad actor. A couple of them I thought were very jarring as far as the voices go, but the rest of them I thought were pretty good. And I think the variation in the micro stories you're getting is interesting as well. In terms of my issues with the game, I think that performance was not great on the Xbox. Lots of stuttering and hitching, and it's a pretty like low intensity game. There shouldn't be any real demands on the Xbox's beefy chipset. I've seen much more intense games running much more smoothly than this. So that was a little bit of a problem. I don't think the port is great. And I will say also, for such a short and self-contained narrative, I would want it to come together like flawlessly at the end. It should be like a little Swiss watch. Every piece belonging, everything working in concert, no fat, everything just kind of like very carefully constructed. And I feel like it almost gets there. Not going to spoil it, but I feel like when I got to the end, and to be fair, there are choices to be made, which I mentioned earlier. You can help people make choices about what they do. And again, sorry to be so vague, but I don't want to spoil such a brief experience. You can make choices. So I don't know what all the choices are, and maybe that will affect what happens. But when I got to the ending of my particular run through with the choices I made, I was happy with all the choices except for two. One of them I kind of misunderstood, and one of them I just made a bad choice. But you see a little bit of resolution, but it didn't come together in the, oh, okay, now I see how this, oh, okay, get it. No, it didn't come together like that. Like, it left me feeling like there was still a little bit more to be told, and I didn't feel that little pop of where, like, all the pieces fit into place, where it's just like the jigsaw puzzle is complete, and now you can see the whole picture, and now you get illuminated, and you feel satisfied. I didn't get that moment, and I felt like they came very close, but they didn't. And I guess that maybe makes sense if they truly are following in the footsteps of David Lynch, because how many times, well, for me anyway, have I watched a David Lynch film and at the end of it been like, I feel like I needed more from that. I feel like it didn't quite finish for me. I don't quite think we got there. And I think that makes sense. So maybe that's what they're going for. And it does feel very eerie and displaced and otherworldly and oblique. And I think those all work for it. But I couldn't help but crave a little bit more resolution at the end. At the very least, I would have liked to have seen how everyone's story wraps up. I was very puzzled because you end up dealing with maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 different people in the course of the day. And I only saw endings for like 2 out of the 5 or whatever. And that was really strange to me. I felt like they left it hanging in more ways than one there. So I don't think it really all comes together the way that it should. It didn't come together seamlessly for me. I didn't get that like light bulb aha moment at the end, but I will say I did enjoy the ride. It really kept my attention all the way through. I was really curious to see what was going to happen. It's very weird and very just so bizarre, like a really, really good take on a David Lynch game. So if that sounds good to you, I definitely think it's recommend, especially recommend because it's such a short experience. It's essentially like a 1 sitting or 2 sitting game. You can definitely finish it in a day. And I appreciate the brevity of it. And, I'm all up for more experimental games like this, especially from this studio. I believe they are Bad Vices games, I believe. Just as a quick side note, it kind of reminded me a little bit also, I want to just throw this in. This has not really anything directly related, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of if you remember, The Walking Dead when Telltale was still a company. The very first Walking Dead game that came out, which was like a 5-part visual novel series, which was amazing. Still quite a good experience. Probably the best Walking Dead property that's been created. They had a DLC edition called 400 Days. And in that DLC edition, it's kind of a standalone mission. They focused on short stories that were around the people that were going into that series. So you got like backstory and some forward story and some mid story of characters. But in that 400 Days, there was a diner. And I thought that the DLC was going to be surrounded or centered around the diner. And it would be a really interesting thing to see how that location was the star going from the early days of the pre-zombie pandemic to the post-zombie apocalypse. It didn't quite pan out that way, but it was a great idea, and I wish they had done it. And I feel like in a certain way, While We Wait Here is kind of touching that same nerve of like a central location. And really, I guess it could be argued that the location itself here actually is the main character. And you're just kind of seeing the stories that happen around it. So kind of an interesting parallel. Not exactly so, but it really kind of gave me the same vibes. So if you like While We Wait Here and you feel like doing a deep dive on really old Walking Dead games, maybe check out 400 Days as well. That's not a one-to-one recommendation there. Just something that came up as an interesting parallel. So anyway, While We Wait Here, I thought was a very interesting experience. And I would recommend it if you like weird, vibey, strange stuff like that. So overall, a thumbs up. Yes, liked it a lot. Sorry. All right, folks, it's been a weird day. I should probably wrap the show up before it gets weirder. Game portion of the show is officially done here, but like many humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right, it's time for the TV and movie roundup. Just a couple of things this week. Wanted to give another shout out to Transformers Earthspark. The wife and I are about halfway through the first series. This is a 2022 or 23 series launched on Nickelodeon, a brand new Transformers IP, which is doing a big remix about the characters, a remix about the world. In this world, the Transformers war is over, and they are a part of society, or at least the Autobots are. And they have a new agency called Ghost, which is rounding up the Decepticons. They're kind of working together. But really, the focus of this show is about one particular mom, and who is an agent, and her husband, who is like a teacher slash stay-at-home dad. And then they've got some kids, and then they have some new types of Transformers called Terrans, who were born on Earth, and they are emotionally bonded to the kids. I was hearing really mixed about this until we started watching it, and I was like, once we started watching it, I'm like, oh wow, this is actually quite a good cartoon. And now that we're further in and they've had some time to develop, I think it's even better, honestly. They spend a lot of time talking about the emotions of the family, and actually the emotions of the Transformers as well. What does it feel like to be a new Transformer? What does it feel like to not have your right alt mode? How do you make your way in the world? How do you relate to humans? And the kids are going through their usual growing pains, like, how to be a good kid, how to make friends. The parents are going through some stuff too. The mom is disabled. She's got a prosthetic leg. And that really came into focus on today's episode. And so they talk about, they're also people of color. The mom is black and the dad is Filipino. The kids are mixed. And so they've touched on that a little bit, I think, which is pretty cool. There's also queer issues, because this is the first series, as far as I know, that has ever had a non-binary Transformer. And I guess that brings up the question of, well, they're robots anyway. They don't necessarily have male or female, even though they may have the appearance of male or female, but really they are like asexual robots, because they don't reproduce sexually. So do they even really have a gender? I don't know. But that's kind of beside the point, because we have one Transformer here called Nightshade, who's a very cool one. I love Nightshade. And they are specifically they, them. They call it out. They say they don't feel one way or the other. They're kind of something else. And I think that's awesome. I think that's something a lot of people are going through these days, especially a lot of kids, and having this content talked about on the show, and like the just general wholehearted acceptance of everybody on the show, I think is a really great model for that. Nothing but good things to say about Earthspark so far. Season 1, I might have mentioned it last week, but I've heard something big happened at Nickelodeon. I don't know what's going on, but the entire creative team and the animation team got replaced at the end of season 1. So season 2 and season 3 are done by all new writers, all new animators. So I don't know if it's going to be as good. A friend of mine who has seen the whole show said it takes a big drop in quality after season 1. So who knows? I don't know. But what I'm seeing so far is pretty fantastic. It's a great new approach to Transformers. I'm seeing a lot of content here that I didn't expect, and I'm really appreciative of it. So I am really, really very quickly warming up to Earthspark. I think it's quite good. I wish I had watched it sooner. So definite thumbs up there. The only other thing I watched this week was the movie Heretic, starring Hugh Grant. It's a A24 horror film. I was not ready to go back to A24 after being kind of disappointed with their last few art house releases that were too much art, not of horror. But the trailer looked really good, and the subject matter was kind of near and dear to our hearts. It's about two Mormon girls on a mission where they are supposed to ride around a neighborhood and like convert people. And they knock on this guy's house, and he invites them in, and then things go horribly wrong from there. It's interesting, and I will say that Hugh Grant does a great job. He's a phenomenal villain. He just really kills it in this role, literally and figuratively. And I think the subject matter is really heavily religious. A lot of philosophy, a lot of ethics, a lot of theory. And I think it's really well done. It's pretty talky. So if you're not here for talking about religion and thinking about religion, it may be a little bit hard to get through, at least the first half. But I really appreciate it. The wife really appreciated it. A lot of, theologian type material here. And it was really interesting. I will say that I think Hugh Grant, even though he's a killer, he makes a lot of really good points. And I was kind of agreeing with him for most of the time, not about the murder, but about his perspective on religion and how it applies to the modern day, so forth and so on. It's kind of like a Cliff's Notes version of things, which I thought was pretty neat. Different tack for a horror movie to take. But it does get bloody and things do happen. And it does have a couple of really weird turns. Definitely some stuff I wasn't expecting. And I will say that this movie has one of the grossest scenes I've seen in quite some time. My wife and I are not really big on gore horror. We like, horror comedy or suspense or monsters or stuff like that. We're not really about like the torture porn and stuff like that. But Oh my God, there was one scene in the middle. I'm not going to spoil it, but where both my wife and I were like, "Oh my God!" and we had like we literally covered our eyes because it was so gross. I just could not. I could not. Kind of a letdown at the ending, though. I think the ending was a little bit soft on this one. It didn't quite get there. Kind of kind of the running theme on today's show, I guess. But it was good. It was worth watching. Just know that it's very talky, and they talk about religion, and that's gotta kind of be your thing before you get into it. Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle to get through. But otherwise, I thought it was good. And Hugh Grant, again, wow, kudos to him. He is really entering a Hugh Grant renaissance right now. He's got a lot of great roles. He's just killing it out there. So good job, Mr. Hugh Grant. I know you listen to the show, so thumbs up to you. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, I would love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, but most important of all, please recommend So Video Games to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And as always, would love to get your questions and your comments. You can email me directly at sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach me on social media. You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. You can also reach me in the So Video Games Discord, which is totally free of charge to join. Just drop me a line through any of the channels I just mentioned, and we'll get you on board to continue the conversation. And finally, if you would like to support the show and help with the cost of running this podcast, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. Every single dollar helps, and €1 helps that much more. All right, folks, that's going to do it for episode 425. Thank you again for joining me here on the So Video Games Podcast, and I'll see you next week.